Ubisoft's newest patch notes just dropped, and with it comes some massive changes that will switch up the meta. And so you need to watch this video all the way through because some of these changes are absolutely wild. Okay, now before we can talk about the patch notes, I actually want to talk about the pick and ban rate charts because there actually is some big differences here. Some of the main ones being that Warden has now found himself at the top of the defender pick rate chart, and it's by a landslide. He was at around 40%-ish before this patch, but for some reason Warden has climbed up even farther and he's now at 50% pick rate. And you also see that Jaeger has gone from being the #1 most picked defender to going down to about 25% pick rate, and he's now the 4th most picked defender. Another thing to take note of is that Vigil, Clash, and Tachanka have dropped off massively in win rate. They were at a pretty okay spot before, but now Clash is all the way off the win rate chart. Tachanka is at -4% and Vigil's at -3%. And the patch notes will make you even more enraged about these statistics. And moving on from the defenders, there's also some notable changes in the attackers. On attack, some of the main things to take note of is the fact that Sins has fallen completely off of the chart now. He is now at more than -5% win rate, which is insane for an operator with an actual automatic primary weapon. So I'm curious to see what Ubisoft will do about Sins in the future. You'll also notice that Grim has had barely any changes to his pick rate and win rate despite him getting a huge buff. And also Nokk has fallen off drastically. She used to be at around 2% win rate and a 15% pick rate, and she's fallen off now to about a 10% pick rate and a -2% win rate. I also find it interesting that you see Blackbeard and Monty fall off as well in their win rate. Considering they've gotten no changes, I find that kind of interesting, considering, like I said, they have gotten no changes, but they've dropped off actually pretty drastically on the win rate scale. Same thing with Zero. Zero's also fallen off pretty bad. But outside of that, there isn't really any other major changes that have happened in the pick and win rate charts. However, with the defender ban rates, there are some noticeable differences. One of them being that Malusi and Caveira have fallen off the ban rate charts entirely. They were the bottom 2 least banned operators on the ban rate chart, but they've now fallen off the chart entirely and they're not even banned that much at all. And replacing them is Fenrir, who now has a 30% ban rate, and Warden, who has about a 2% ban rate. Another noticeable difference is that Valk has gone up in ban percentage, which is quite interesting to me. But overall, this ban rate chart does make a lot of sense. Fenrir has been an extremely annoying operator to go against, and Warden is now becoming extremely overpicked. So I'm not surprised by people banning Warden and Fenrir now. And now that we've looked at all the charts, we can now go down to the meat and potatoes of this patch, the balancing changes. The first being a huge buff to Thorn. I thought Thorn was already pretty good beforehand, as I'm sure you guys have heard me talk about 100 times, but giving her the 1.5 as they plan on doing in this patch is going to cause her pick rate to absolutely soar. And honestly, I feel like she's going to turn into another Warden or Alibi until they inevitably take it away again in a few patches. I understand why they did it since her pick rate was so low beforehand, but this isn't the way they should have buffed her. I think I speak for everyone when I say I'm tired of going against 1.5s every single round. And giving another operator this sight is just going to make the issue even worse. If they wanted to buff Thorn, they could have made her trap stronger. They could have given her C75 sight options like I saw on Twitter, or they could have buffed her gun's damage if they really wanted her gun to be stronger. But this wasn't the way to go about it. Now, the next balancing change is almost just as bad though. For some reason, Ubisoft decided that nerfing Nokk in this patch was a good idea, even though, as we can see in the charts, she was declining in pick and win rate. And this nerf is actually awful. Unfortunately for you Nokk mains out there, Ubisoft is removing her silent step while her ability is active. Basically, Nokk's ability will no longer make her quieter, it will only make her invisible to cameras. Now, to make up for this, Ubisoft is buffing her ability's length to 20 seconds, and they are making her gadget only cause glitching on cams when she shoots instead of it deactivating her gadget. But these buffs don't mean anything, because at the end of the day, the reason Nokk was so strong was because of her ability to move silently while also being invisible. Now, since she is only invisible on cameras, her use cases are going to be way more niche. If I were Ubisoft and I wanted to nerf Nokk, I would have just removed her nades. Her being able to sneak below the bomb site and nade someone from below before you even know she's there is really strong. But apparently nerfing her gadget was the only way Ubisoft thought they could go about this. Now, trust me, the balancing changes don't get any better. As part of the changes to Nokk, Ubisoft also decided to change Vigil. This change involves having his glitch effect apply when he shoots, just like Nokk. So this means Vigil's gadget won't be interrupted nearly as often, but it will barely affect his gadget overall, because as soon as you give a glitch effect on a drone, the attackers are going to see it and they're going to kill you. It still reveals your position either way, so the glitch effect really doesn't do much. And then on top of this quote-unquote buff, this patch is also giving Vigil a decent nerf, because why not? This nerf is removing Vigil's ability to counter Lion's E1Ds and Grimm's Bs. Now, after this patch, Vigil will still be pinged if a Lion E1D is active and when he's within the radius of Grimm's Bs. He can stop the pings by activating his gadget, but he will still be pinged initially. I don't know why they decided to remove this feature when Vigil was honestly underpowered, if anything, but it's not like any of these balancing changes make sense either. I honestly thought with Solace existing that Vigil could use a buff or something in this patch, especially with him being the second worst win rate operator in the game now, but I guess they saw it differently. Now for the final change in this patch, we have something I'm actually happy about. They gave our boy Oryx a decent buff to his gadget by allowing him to jump hatches 30% faster. This is actually a good change in my opinion. It was kind of scary jumping up hatches because you were left so vulnerable for a long period of time. Now whether this change was needed or not is questionable, but it will definitely make him more fun to play. Now, I'm sure you're thinking, there must be more, right? And nope, this is the entire patch. Instead of nerfing operators that people were actually asking for months, like Solace, Azami, or Fenrir, they decided to nerf operators that were already struggling statistically and that no one asked about. And on top of that, they decided to give another 1.5 to an underpicked operator, which all of us content creators have said is a bad idea repeatedly, but they continue to do it. I guarantee you in a couple of seasons, Ubisoft will have to remove Thorn's 1.5 because their pick weight and win rate will skyrocket. Giving bad operators a 1.5 doesn't solve anything. Their gadget will stay bad and people will just pick them for their gun. But for some reason, Ubisoft has yet to figure this out. If Ubisoft would just spend some time talking to pro players, content creators, or really anyone big in the community, we all could help them make better patch notes. I just don't get why they don't listen to us more, because we all want the game to improve, and we probably know more about the game than Ubisoft does, because we all play this game for thousands of hours, and it really frustrates me with every single mid-season patch, seeing changes that no one asked for, seeing buffs and nerfs that make absolutely no sense in the context of the meta we're in. I just don't get how Azami and Solace have been able to go this long without any nerfs at all, even though everyone keeps asking for them. It's really starting to frustrate me. We'll just have to see if Ubisoft gets better about listening to the community with future patches, and I pray that they do, because if they don't, it's probably going to drive this game into the ground, and I'm not being dramatic. Anyways, that wraps up today's video. These patch notes were really disappointing, in my opinion, but let me know if you agree or disagree with the patch notes in the comments down below. I'd love to hear you guys' opinion, even if you disagree. If you enjoyed today's video, I make Siege content just like this twice a week, so go subscribe to the channel and follow me on Twitter if you don't want to miss the next upload. If you want to see more of me, go follow me on Twitch, because I'll be streaming 2 hours after this video goes up, and I'm sure you'll want to be there. If you want to watch another video just like this one, a video will be popping up on your screen right now that I'm sure you'll enjoy. I'll see you next time, friends, and peace.